Hey there, Leah here. So, after a minor technological snafu, which may mean that some people are trying to watch this video somewhere else, bless them, here I am, and I'm going to celebrate with you 1 year of Ordinary Magic. It's right here in the flesh, Ordinary Magic, my most recent album that I released in October of 2024. I'm going to talk a little bit about the songs, play a little bit of the songs, invite you, if you haven't already, to go and check out the entire album. You can hear the entire thing on Bandcamp, and if you'd like to help support the music, you can download it there, stream, and find other music from me. But first, I'd just like to talk about the inspiration of the album in general. Uh, it was deep into 2020 when I realized that the experience of being in lockdown and, facing this weird new experience that, humans of my age and everybody over the age of 5 at this point went through together, that one of the things that was going to help me to survive was positivity, was constantly focusing on how I wanted to feel, just focusing my energy on the joy, the beauty, the connection that was growing between my family, and my deeper connection with myself and my music. And so that's very much where the ethos of this album comes from. The first song, Joy is Free, if you listen closely, you'll hear a little bit of a spiritual echo through it. And I was raised in the Baptist church in Baltimore, Maryland, and you'll hear a little bit of some of the first songs that I learned to sing. And you'll hear how those messages from my ancestors of keeping focused on the joy, the love, the peace, the positivity, even in the darkest, most uncertain times, is going to be what keeps us moving forward. So this is Joy is Free. I'll play a little bit of it for you, and off we go. Trouble above, trouble below, trouble ahead of me. What do you know? Wake up in the morning, and what do I find? Trouble is everywhere, but ain't none on my mind. 'Cause I got peace like a river, love through the night. I got joy like a fountain. I'm gonna be alright, 'cause I get very far before the day is done. Can you spell out the words to tell me what you want? You say that nobody hears you. I'm listening to the sound of your footsteps, the sound of moving on. Standing on a distant shore, thinking of my home. What did I go roaming for? Just what have I done? I miss America. She's in my heart. I miss America. So far. Oh, but it's... Sometimes I'm really amazed at the amount of sound that we were able to produce, like on Ex-Patriot song. We had Lars and Eddie laying down the rhythm, me on the guitar, and vocals, you know, lots of harmonies, vocal harmonies on here. But the only other instrument than the trio is Jens Komnik, who played Tin Whistle. In the beginning, you'll hear him right on that riff, and that was just the that little, almost like, you know what it feels like to me? It feels nostalgic. It feels like being on a ship, leaving your home, and not knowing where you're going, or how long you'll be away, or if you'll ever return. It just feels sort of like that. Yeah, that energy. So thanks to Jens. Jens was on a ton of the tracks as well. And now we're moving on to Lead the Way. Lead the Way was definitely born of the lockdown, of that, just like having no idea what this meant or was, or where it was going to go, or how any of us were going to get through it. And I just, you know, in my meditative moments, in my walks, in my searching, internal searching, and asking the question, what do we do in times when the answer is not clear? The only thing that we absolutely can rely on is love, is you know, faith in something bigger than ourselves. That's what connects us to the rest of the universe. So this song has a little bit of a gospel feel to it, as probably not coincidental. Love, would you guide my feet? Love, would you light my path? Love, lead the way. Lead the way. Love, would you fill my needs? Love, would you do the math? Love, lead the way. Lead the way. Lead the way. And I will walk with trust today. And all I do, and all I say, I will follow. Love, lead the way. Lead me all the way. When I don't. And with that feel, you know, that very Americana roots feel, having the vocals, those backing vocals that feel almost like leading vocals from Marlon Williford, who is an American singer who lives in Berlin now. And he sent his tracks in from on the road, wherever he was at the time. He does a lot of background work. You hear him on this piece and in the spirituals that I cover, as well as in other spots on the album. And he shines, such a unique, powerful voice. That's Marlon, and Bayo, you could hear him playing saxophone again on this one. So I'm gonna let Eddie and Lars take a little bit of a break. Oh, that's for later. Eddie and Lars, you guys can go into the green room. I'm gonna move on to Man of Wood, and I always tell this story when I play this song live. It's a longish story because the way this song was composed is rather unusual. I'll simply say that I didn't expect it. I didn't intend to write this song. It was inspired by a piece of art in a museum in Baltimore, in the AVAM, called The Man of Wood. And it feels very much like what the person who carved that statue out of this apple tree would have answered to the question of why they carved the statue and why they chose to take their lives shortly thereafter. So here's a little bit of Man of Wood. I made him out of wood, out of a single tree. I think he's pretty good, a simple man like me. And after my destruction, you'll ask yourself this question: how did this come to be? I used a carving knife, a whittle and a saw. I worked both day and night until my hands were raw and fingertips were bleeding. A little voice kept pleading, dear God, please finish me. I'll never be a man of wood or a man of steel, with a heart of stone, who never feels hurt or alone. So we had Bayo Brockhausen, who played, on this song, he played the handpan in the beginning. You hear the sort of atmospheric, if you're not familiar with the instrument, similar to steel pans. And he played the flute, and he also added a like a saxophone trio that I completely didn't expect. In the case of many of the riffs, all the riffs that you hear, like the basic fundamental melodies and the interludes, I gave those to the musicians and asked them then to play those and build the rest of their parts around the those structures. And this is one case where Bayo played precisely what I asked him to play on the flute, and then he listened to that bridge section and heard the potential of these really haunting saxophones, like a trio at least of saxophone. And I know he plays everything from the soprano to the bass saxophone. And I can be honest, I never would have asked for that. I mean, saxophone is one of those instruments that I often think I could kind of live without. But he plays with such taste, such musicianship, such an understanding, an appreciation for what the song is. That I was happy with having three saxophones on this song. It really fit and was beautiful. So if you haven't already, have a listen. Go to Bandcamp, listen all the way through to Man of Wood. Bayo very much had a lot to do with making that track come out the way it did. All right, what's next? Something. Yeah, all right, let's give something a listen.
I think somebody ought to do something. Someone ought to bring that girl back home. She's out there on her own. Midnight corner confrontations. It ain't my kind of situation, oh no. Out there on her own. And after all, maybe she's fine, 'cause I see her out there all the time. And after all, what do I know? What do I know?
So this song, Something, is the sixth track on the album, and it's one of my favorites, partially because my eldest daughter likes it a lot, but also I love how I was able to convey the message that I wanted to. If you do any kind of creative project, from tiling to storytelling to whatever it might be, there's nothing quite like when the project turns out the way you intended it to. And I feel that way about this album and about this song. I really wanted to somehow talk about the heaviness, this weight of the existential weight of being a human right now. And I wanted to do it in a light way, in a way that by the end of the song you actually felt better. Like the weight hasn't lifted, but you feel maybe a little bit more able to carry it. It asks the question, what are we going to do about this time? I think somebody ought to do something. And it poses no solutions whatsoever, except for a tiny little bit of a hint that don't give up might be the core of whatever our solution is, not to just give up. And deep into the track, it gets a little countrified, and our boy Jens comes in again with some mandolin. It really just cooks. All right. So, gentlemen, we're going to move on to the next song. Thank you. Which is Ordinary Magic, the title track. Now, in 2020, I released Ordinary Magic as my birthday gift to myself, and that's sort of a habit I've gotten into in the last years, is to write and produce a song and share it as a gift to myself, from myself, for anybody who wants to listen. And Ordinary Magic was the one of 2020. It was produced differently, a little more heavily produced, but that's just saying, there was a guitar, some percussions, more harmonies on it. And in this case, it has just a single vocal and Brian Sims on the organ and keyboard, and it feels appropriate. It feels appropriately meditative have a little bit of a listen. And if you're so inclined, you can go back to the 2020 release of Ordinary Magic and listen to how it was first conceived.
Have you spent a lifetime looking to find a miracle or wonder that could change your mind? You ain't found no reason yet to believe, but maybe hope's got something yet left up her sleeve. Something beautiful, something natural, ordinary magic. Amazing that we have this chance to be here, to let our love banish fear, and let our days overfill with ordinary magic.
Yes, indeed. Brian Sims, well, like I said before, one of my favorite piano players in the whole world. Really just tasteful, simple, beautiful support of that song, Ordinary Magic. And it's a song that is rather self-explanatory. It's just appreciation, singing about the beauty of the world, the simple perfection in a world that we are often tempted to say is that something's wrong with it. I'd say when I'm in my clearest mind that the only trouble in the world comes when we don't appreciate the world and we don't appreciate ourselves and our own perfection, our own beauty, and our own naturalness. Our place in nature is within it, right? We're not somehow separate from the magic. We're not separate from the mundane. We're not separate from the earth or from the rest of nature. When we remember that, then I think we are the closest we can get to our own divinity and to, for lack of a better way of saying it, to saving ourselves, to surviving even this most difficult time in human history, which are, I believe, also the greatest days in human history. So this next song, The Moment, while Brian is one of my favorite pianists, I have met many wonderful pianists in my life, and in this song, a gentleman named Adam Pod will tickles the ivories, as they say when I was a kid. And then you'll hear, if you listen all the way through, go over to Bandcamp and listen all the way through track 8, The Moment, and you'll hear my son Jacob, who makes a beautiful sort of spoken word singing cameo at the end, and he cooks and he just kind of makes the album. And it's like right in the middle of, do you want to come say hello to the people? He's walking by and he's like, I heard my name. Do you want to say hi? Jacob?
Hi, everyone.
There he is. That gentleman that you'll hear at the end of this album, at the end of this track. That was Jacob Leonard, and let's have a listen to The Moment.
If you should doubt that life is holy, I'm about to shower. Love just told me to get into the moment. Set a place at the table, say your grace just 'cause you're able, and get into the moment. As a spark ignites a flame, holy, holy is each name. Every smile on every face is a parade. In the dark, in the day, in the swirling little
We cooked that song. We fired that one up, and with plenty of help, we had Geza Guile. You'll hear that riff in the beginning. It was actually really hilarious because Geza is also a pianist, an extraordinary musician who lives here in Braunschweig, near where I live now. And my what I had done with the other musicians was to send them, when I wanted them to play a specific riff, was to send an audio of that and have them, just mimic what they had heard. Gazer preferred to have it in notation. So I notated it using MIDI and Sibelius, and I sent him exactly. It's a little syncopated, right? And it wound up having some 30-second notes in it, which I would never, ever, ever use in most cases. But he heard it, he read it, and played it exactly the way I wanted to. And then he said, "Wow, that was very precise writing." I was like, "Yeah, wow." Yeah, I could take a little credit. I knew how to use the technology to produce the outcome that would then result in you playing exactly that part. So all's fair. We also had my kids singing. Marlon was on this recording. Marlon Williford. Let me see if I can get an image of Marlon back up again. There he is. And Heidi Joubert, who is a South African singer, songwriter, and cajon player. If you've seen this young lady right up there, she's kind of YouTube. She's quite YouTube famous. A lot of people who play the cajon, especially, are familiar with her. She has this super viral recording of herself and somebody else singing Prince's song "Kiss" on a subway. And she just is such a fabulous musician. I had the opportunity to meet her here in Germany, and she's been really gracious about supporting my work, and I'm excited to see what she continues to go on and do musically. And Adam was on, and the kids, and of course Eddie and Lars. And now we can move on to Troubles the Water. Interesting thing about Troubles the Water. First of all, the song itself was inspired by the standoff in Standing Rock several years ago. There was a how do I put this? There was a moment when the people of the Standing Rock Reservation protested against some, I believe it was fracking, some environmental actions or anti-environmental actions that were taking place that were polluting their water. And many people stood up with this reservation. And it was a time shortly after the water in Detroit was shown to be, traced with lead, and in a landscape in general, in a global landscape where people who do not have money, who don't have the means, often also do not have access to the absolute most basic fundamental rights that all of us expect. I mean, I bet if you're watching this, you expect to have access to clean water. And that right, that's a fundamental right. Clean water, clean air, a safe environment. All of these are just, talk about inalienable rights. These are rights that I believe come with having been born into the human family. So I wrote this song with that all in mind, and you'll hear, maybe, if you're familiar with a few spirituals, you'll hear echoes of Wade in the Water, that song. That was definitely one that's been with me since I was a girl and has been with my community for generations, helping to hold us up and keep us pointed in the right direction and give us the power, the internal power to keep going. So this is a little bit of Troubles the Water. And in recording this song, I thought about Brian Sims, the pianist, and I thought about Adam Pod, the pianist, and their styles are so different that I thought maybe they would even be complementary. And I knew it was unusual. At first I thought, okay, I'll have Brian provide his interpretations, and Adam provide his interpretations, and see which moved me more, see which one I felt more strongly called out the energy of this song. And what was really beautiful is having had the support of a community to helped fund this project made that kind of experimentation and openness possible, because I had the ability to ask both of those musicians to play and then to listen and to realize that they complement each other. It wasn't a competition. It was Brian's voice is so distinct musically, and Adam's voice is distinct musically, and they both had something to say within the piece. So we took elements of each of their contributions and in a few places together. So um, I won't go into detail about which exact selection was from which musician, but perhaps if you listen closely, you can hear almost like there are two different voices in the piano sections of this song, Troubles the Water.
Somewhere way back along the line, someone turned some water into wine. He said, never tell a soul about what I'd done, but he knew damn well his time had come. Troubles the water, troubles the water. Lord, just open the sky, let the rain begin. Trouble ain't the water, it's your brother man's sin. Now Jesus went down to Galilee, said, come on boys, you can follow me. When the sea gets to rockin', it'll test your faith. We'll see if you can walk out among the waves. Troubles the water, troubles the water. Lord, just open the sky, let the rain begin. Trouble ain't the water, it's your brother man's sin.
Yeah, I'm really, really grateful that I had all of those voices, those musical voices on this recording. And I mentioned Wade in the Water having inspired the imagery, or some of the imagery in that song, Trouble Ain't the Water, It's Your Brother Man's Sin. And I know that lyric borrowed directly from Wade in the Water, and it just felt appropriate in a couple of spaces to call out to my ancestral inspirations and just give a shout out, so to speak. A very brief, like 30-second shout out of gratitude for the legacy that I'm carrying forward. And thankful to Marlon and Heidi for singing along.
Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water.
Don't you know?
And I've gotten some complaints. A couple of people have said, wow, those spirituals were really cool. Why didn't you do, like the full 3-minute version? I could have, of course. And from time to time, I'll do that on the looper. I'll lay down the tracks, lay down all of the harmonies, and then sing the verses in a call and response and ask people to, participate a little bit similarly to how I would have learned and sung them in church as a kid. But on the record, I just wanted to say thank you. Honestly, it was just a brief thank you for that inspiration. So the next song is called A Little Bit of Love. And I think it's like, besides Man of Wood, A Little Bit of Love is like the outlier on the album. I feel like it's energetically just kind of different from the other ones, but maybe not. It does have Eddie and Lars and me as the rhythm section, so that really helps to create this cohesive feel throughout. But who we had on there, who we didn't have on any other song, was Anna Sonic, this young lady is originally from the Ukraine, and she is currently living in Germany. And somebody, a producer who I know, I asked, I said, I really want to have an instrument on this that is unusual, that people maybe can't even immediately identify. There's something like light, playful, but also really longing, right? There's a longing in this song, and I wanted something that could convey all of that. And this producer who I know, and his name is Günther Paula, and he is just, he's very respected and a really great producer, suggested that I check out. Oh, I've misspelled her name. Sonic is her last name. Um, this instrument and specifically this player, and I think he was definitely spot on. Combining the bandura and Brian Sims on the accordion just really created the atmosphere that I felt is exactly what this song wanted. Have a listen.
Stone, cold heart stone. I'm in this world all alone. You might have known you've been high and way down low. Everybody's searching for a path that leads to somewhere. Everybody's waiting for the one they're dreaming of. Take me to the mountaintop, I don't care how we get there. All I really want is just a little bit of love.
Yeah, a little bit of love. For a long time, that was the song I would always start my performance sets with. Um, it just felt like an anthem, a personal anthem, something that is very true to me, but also I think that most people can resonate. All I really want is just a little bit of love. I think all any of us want is to feel connected, to feel seen, to feel like we belong, which we all do, but it's crazy easy to forget that. So this song, we're almost at the end of the album, and if you've stuck around, I've done a lot of yakking. I've talked a little bit about the inspirations, about the performers, the other musicians on the album, and I know that most of the people who are listening now or who listen to my music in general grew up in an era when it was one of our greatest joys to get a new album or to bring an old album into a space that we had curated for ourselves, maybe with some tea, maybe with other substances, which wasn't really my world, but hey, whatever elevates the moment, brings you deeper into it, and then just set the thing off, put the album on, let the vinyl run all the way through the first half, flip it. Ooh, you might have had one of those turntables that flipped itself, and you could just listen to the whole thing without touching it, or the era of CDs or tapes, but we knew how to listen to a whole album. We knew that an artist had created these songs and created this entire work as a gift to us. And that if we could take the time to listen from the first sound to the last sound, sometimes with bonus tracks at the end, that that was a whole different experience than just listening to one song or just listening to 20 seconds of one song. And bless this generation. I am constantly encouraging my kids, especially Jacob, who's a huge music lover, to sit down and just listen to the whole statement. Because I know there are still artists who are singing and speaking to you. They're choosing the order of the album, the order of the tracks. They're choosing all of these things intentionally. It's a love letter. The whole album is a love letter to you. And definitely, Ordinary Magic is a love letter to anybody who listens to it. It's a love letter to me. It's a love letter to everybody who participated in it. A love letter to my kids. I think that someday they're going to listen back to this album or any album that I've created, and get to know me from that time. Get to hear, oh, this is how mom got through the lockdown. This is the wisdom and the joy and the love that she was able to cultivate by living through that difficult time. So I am very grateful for having had the opportunity to make this album. This will be a really great time to say special thanks to every individual who contributed to this creation. This was the musicians, the technician, to the gentleman Roman Brodell who took the photos on the front and the back of the album, to a specific angel who prefers not to be named, but who really was absolutely instrumental and vital in me being able to make this album the way I wanted to. And I made several other companion pieces. I arranged some songs for choir, and I extracted the stems right before that became a thing that AI was doing. I had the idea, and we set the stems apart. And so there are a lot of different elements to celebrate the ordinary magic in the world. And on this record, I just want to take a moment to thank the Indiegogo community, as well as everybody who's listened and bought the album since it's been out, and who will do so in the future. Thank you so much for being part of this music. The first joy that I get is in receiving the song, and that is a massive blessing. And then being able to pass it on to anyone that it might be meaningful to, it just multiplies that blessing. So I got a couple more songs for you here. This one's called Day's Work. It's a song that's a few years old, but I wrote it for my partner. Initially, it was just recognizing that at the time, I have this work that I do that is very creative, and I get to spend a lot of time kind of in the ether, right? In this visionary space. I spend a lot of time in a visionary space, thinking how beautiful things are and how beautiful they can be when we acknowledge how beautiful they are. And at the time especially, my partner was just really grounded in this. I don't think it was so much, I don't want to use the word drudgery, but it was like the grounded work. It was really, it was very 9 to 5. There was an element of monotony perhaps about it. The leadership in the company was not kind. So it was definitely a more difficult path to be walking at the time. And so it was really this sort of roots and wings element. And I just wanted to write this song to acknowledge how we were holding each other up. How, and then the first time I sang it, I realized that it wasn't just about us, that it's about humanity and how that's part of the dance we do. There's some of us whose purpose or whose chosen mission is to do that visionary work, whatever it might be, to dream that thing or to be joyous, and others of us whose chosen mission is to, to prepare the meals, to whatever it might be, to clean the streets. And it's all valuable work that we need to keep us going. And so this song is to honor all of us on both ends of the spectrum and in the middle, and to recognize that all of our work is valuable to keeping us going.
When days are long and your hand's work is thirsty, when the night's gone all wrong and your arms have grown worn, don't walk alone. My tank is not empty. You could let me haul your bones back home when the day's work is done. When you feel cold, 'cause the sun is done shining. When you're feeling old and your soul cries too long, I might be far, never too far for calling. I could still sing your fears to sleep when the day's work is done. You've been working so hard, I know. Always seems the goal is so far, and you're too slow. It's a lot to bear, honey, I do care, you know. When a
Day's work. And so this album is nearly done. And my work is kind of just beginning as a musician. I feel in the last few years, especially since I could call it a revival, a renaissance of me as a musician, as a creative person. It's a rediscovering the joy of making music and exploring different ways to do so. I've been playing more piano. My flute is still in the case right now, but she will come out. And the loop station and composing and arranging for choirs and continuing to write songs with my acoustic guitar and starting to lean into what possibilities are in new tech for, especially for me, for production. And yeah, so it's as always a fascinating time to be alive and to be making music and to be doing any human thing. And the end of the song is intended, if you remember what it was like listening to an album and letting it loop, the end of the album is intended to point back to the front of the album. The first song, Joy is Free, sings echoes of peace like a river. And so the last statement I make on the album is, I've got peace like a river, sung with Marlon and Heidi again.
I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul.
And then in that blessed key of G, the album begins again. Trouble above, trouble below, trouble ahead of me. What do you know? And on into the album. Thank you so much for hanging out, for listening to little snippets from the album Ordinary Magic. I gotta show you my hoodie again. Sadly, well, not sadly, joyfully, they are in short supply, but I'm very proud of my album, proud of my hoodie, proud of this music, and grateful for every opportunity I get to share. And if you've enjoyed this broadcast, I think tomorrow or in the next couple of days, I will release the whole album as a video. It will just be available if you want to turn it on YouTube and just let it run, let it rip. You can listen from the first note to the last note, the way we used to do back in the day. And it's available to stream and download and purchase on Bandcamp. If you go to my website, thisisleah.com, you can find the album there, and you can share it with friends and gift it. As always, if you have any questions, you can put them in the comment, or you can reach me directly at thisisleahmusic@gmail.com. My sister said to come in under an hour. I have done it. So it's been wonderful hanging out with you, and I'm sure I'll see you again soon. Ciao.